Hey everybody, it's Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel, Time to Cook. Today we are making cinnamon buns. Need I say more? It's cinnamon buns. So we're going to get started. This is a 1 hour cinnamon bun. It does not take long. We're going to let our yeast rise for about 5 to 10 minutes and then we're going to get to mixing and baking and eating. Okay, so we have very simple ingredients. We're going to start with our sugar, our yeast, some salt, whatever plant-based milk you have, and some butter. Now there's butter, we're gonna have butter in two spots. We're gonna have butter in the dough, and then we're gonna have butter in the filling. But it is up to you how you use it. You can either have more or less, it's really up to you. I suggest you try it and taste it, and if you like it, it's all good. So let's get started. So we're gonna start with our yeast. Here we're gonna mix our sugar and our yeast and our milk. Okay, I used a half a cup of sugar, I used 5 teaspoons of yeast, and I used 2 cups of milk. Now, be sure to have your milk warm, slightly warm, like bathwater warm. If it's too hot, you'll kill your yeast, and you don't want that to happen. You just want it nice and bathwater warm. I'm gonna mix it up a little bit, and then we're gonna let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, we're back. Our yeast is active, and you can tell because the bowl now has fuzzies all inside, and I'll be able to get a picture of that for you, but this is how that you know your yeast is alive. To this mixture, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of salt and 4.5 cups of flour, as well as about, I think we're doing nope, we're doing a whole stick of butter in here. I know. Why you gotta have so much butter? It's a cinnamon bun, y'all. This is not the low calorie vegan episode. This is some cinnamon buns. So let's get started on that. We're gonna add our salt. We're going to add 4.5 cups of flour. Now, when you have flour, I would really encourage you to measure correctly, okay? Unlike when you're cooking, you can sort of add and subtract anything you want. When it comes to baking, it's more like chemistry. It's a science. So I wouldn't suggest you just, try your own thing because it might not rise or it might be too much or whatnot. So especially when you do your flour, I would say measure and take the top off, okay? This is 1. Measure. 2. Measure. 4. And I have a little half cup. 4. We're also going to put our butter in. Now the butter is supposed to be slightly, well, it's supposed to be softened, but I wasn't paying attention, and so I have too much. It melted a little bit, but it'll be fine. I let it get a little hard. I'm going to mix this up a little bit before we get started, and then I'll add the butter. Just going to put my little stick of butter in there. Like I said, if you don't want to use this much butter, you don't have to. I've made this without using any butter in the dough, and it still came out beautifully soft. It didn't, I don't think it stayed soft as long, might not have been as luscious, but it was still very, very good. Okay. All right. This looks good. Let's get our mat out. I just use a silicone mat when I'm rolling out dough, and we're going to use the same one a little later when we are actually rolling out. Right now, I just want to put a little bit of flour here. Just make sure your hands are nice and clean. I am not a master baker, but darn it if I don't try all the time to get better, okay? I'm really working on it. And I have found that it is a lot easier to bake or to make these things than I originally thought. I used to think it was so hard and, oh my goodness, I couldn't do that. But really, it's not as difficult as you think. And the more you do it, the better you get. And you want to knead this till it's not too sticky, okay? Okay. And I would suggest you just use the heel of your hands and and then turn it. Okay? And the more you do it, you're going to feel that the dough does change in consistency. It goes from kind of sticky to slightly tacky, okay? And not like, you know, wearing something odd tacky, but when you're baking, tacky means it's a little less than sticky, okay? So it still has some stickiness to it. Now, when you put this in the bowl, it's going to rise, probably double in size, okay? So we want to make sure that we oil our bowl, okay? You see our bowl? Perfect, all right? Well, perfect for me anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this butter that is not supposed to be melted, and I'm just going to grease my bowl, sorry. Because this is going to rise up almost to the top of this bowl, because we had 5 teaspoons of yeast in there, so it does rise really, really nicely, okay? I could have washed this bowl out, but I'm just going to take this ball, I'm going to pop it right in here. I'm going to take a tea towel or a drying towel, and I'm going to put it over top of this and sit it somewhere warm. Actually, some people will turn their stove on at 175 till it gets to that temperature, then turn it off and pop this in there with the door slightly open. And that way it's kind of warm. You don't want to bake it, you just want the heat to allow it to rise a little bit. If you're cooking something, just sit it in the back, at the back of the stove, like around it or on the top, just so it feels some heat and it'll help it rise a little bit more, okay? So we're gonna put something on here. I'm gonna pop it in the oven. We're gonna be back in about an hour to watch, see how high it rose, and then we're gonna make our cinnamon rolls. All right, we're back. Our dough has risen for about 50 minutes, about an hour actually, and I had it in a warm oven, and I think it's a little too warm because it normally doesn't get this big. That's all right. We're gonna work that out. Can you see that? This is huge. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna punch it down, take the air out of it, and then we're going to roll it out. Okay. Now I know that there's something to this rolling part. Sometimes I can get it real good, and other times I don't. So either way, you won't be able to tell when the cinnamon buns come out. So let's punch it down. All right, and we oiled our bowl, so it should pop out of here really nicely. Perfect, perfect. All right, so it's nice and oily. And what I want to do is I'm going to try to shape it into the shape of this, of my mat here, okay? Which is more like I guess a big rectangle. Sometimes that works well, and sometimes it doesn't. Either way, we're going to eat this when we're done, right? We're going to eat it. Okay. Just going to flour this up. We're going to start rolling. You just do your best to make it the shape that you want it in. And it might take a couple of tries, but it's okay. It's all right. I just want you to try it, okay? You just want to try it. Sometimes you might hear little noises, and you'll see that there's still some air in there, and that's fine. We do want to get the air out of this bread, or out of this dough rather, but you might be able to hear it. If it goes off the edge, I'm not really worried about it because we're going to end up rolling it and cutting off the edges, and you just want it to be as large as you can. I try to stay on the mat so that it doesn't stick to my counter, and my counter is not food safe either. So oftentimes when you roll these out, you end up cutting off the edges. So you won't really see the edges that you might have messed up. Or what I'll do is I'll cut my edges down and I'll put them in their own little container and make sort of like mini ones. And they are just as tasty. They may or may not have as much of the stuff in them, but either way, they get eaten. So, as I always say, if you made it, it's homemade. So it doesn't always matter what it looks like. And these, I gotta tell you, are gonna be beautiful no matter what you do. Okay? No matter. These are gonna look stunning. Okay? See how I did the best I could? Got it as large as I could. I might try to pull it a little bit, stretch it out. Now we're going to put our filling inside this, okay? And our filling, oops, hold on, I feel a fat spot. Not sure why. Just going to try to work the fat spot out. Interesting. Did you hear that air? Sort of like air bubbles are growing up underneath the bottom. That's alright. I'm going to eat those too. Okay. So we're going to now put our filling inside. And the filling is going to consist of the rest of the butter, which I believe is like 6 tablespoons, a half a cup of brown sugar, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, as well as about, I think, a quarter teaspoon of vanilla. So let's mix those in really quickly. And actually, I'm wondering if we could just separate them. I'm going to keep the cinnamon out and sprinkle that on a little later. Okay. Let's just put our brown sugar. And you know, I've done this a couple different ways. Sometimes I will just spread the butter on and then sprinkle with the brown sugar and then sprinkle with the cinnamon. Whichever. They're all going to get in this thing, so it really doesn't matter how you do it. I'm just going to save a step and put it all in here together. And then also I need some vanilla. I'm going to go with a half a teaspoon of vanilla. This will give it some flavor, and it'll just be delicious because you're ultimately going to roll this up. Now, when you spread this onto your dough, you want to spread it so that it covers all but about an inch around all the sides, okay? So we're going to spread it on like this. Probably would have gotten a lot farther if I'd have just spread the butter on and then sprinkle the brown sugar. That's how I did it the last time, but you know, sometimes you just aren't feeling it or not paying attention. But I bet you it's going to be good. Bet you. This definitely would have spread a little bit more had I spread the butter first. But that's right. I think because I did it this way, I'm going to put a little more brown sugar on it as well. You just want to coat every inch of this. Just paint it like a picture. Yeah. I definitely should put the butter on first and then spread everything out. But that's alright. This is going to melt into the dough wonderfully. Let me just grab some brown sugar. I think I'm going to add a little bit more. So when you are sprinkling this brown sugar on here, again, it's really as much or as little as you want. I would normally put just a half a cup, but since I put the butter in with it, it kind of melted together. I would say make it according to the recipe, see how you like it, and then if you'd like some more sweetness, you certainly can do that, okay? And then just sprinkle your cinnamon over the whole thing. I have made this without cinnamon before because my mother is allergic to cinnamon. So, you know, again, the herbs and spices, it's really up to you. Not the herbs, but the seasonings, it's up to you. It will change the flavor just a little bit. Okay. I think we're good. Now we're going to roll this thing up into a log and then we'll cut the pieces, okay? And to the pieces, we're going to put it in a 9x13 pan. So these should fit in here perfectly. If there are any extra pieces, sometimes I'll put it, like I said, in a little, a small little one, and that'll be, you know, somebody's special, very own bowl of goodness. So let's roll. So you're going to roll all the sides together. Try to roll them all at once. As even as possible. I can see that there were some thicker pieces here in the center. And my mat, I really could have been bigger. I was trying to keep it within the mat, but I could have spread this out a lot more. So I'm going to have a lot of extras on the edges here. That's all right. I might even just roll those back out and make another one, just a little one. See that? Done. Just slide her back down. And then we're going to cut them right out of the center. Okay? You get a good knife. A serrated knife probably would be best. But I'm not sure. I have a really sharp one too. Let me just see if that works a little better. Yeah, I like that. So your rolls will probably need to be about an inch thick or so. Look at that. Just like that. Okay? You're going to put them in the pan. Try to score them in advance here so I know how many I have. Maybe an inch and a half. Oops, that's a big one. It's all right. Anytime you mess up on one, that's when you get to eat right away. Okay? Now the sharper your knife, or at least the more serrated it is, the less chance you have of messing it up. But once you put it in the pan, they're all going to be right next to each other, and it will continue to rise as you cook it. The dough will rise, so it's okay if you have one that you don't quite like. It's going to grow and cook and bake and right into the one next to it, so it'll be fine. Believe me, it'll be fine. Almost finished. Stuff in one more. I think this side looks a little better. You know, you want them to be cute too, right? You want them to be beautiful. I like this side a little bit better. And these will be my extras. Boom. Awesome. Okay. So, what we're going to do is put them in the oven. Let me see what did I have in here that I was going to cook them for. Yeah, we're going to put them in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes on 350. Yep, 20 to 30 minutes. We'll be back when they're done. Okay, our cinnamon buns are ready. You should smell it in here. It smells absolutely fabulous. But before we go grab those, let's make a little bit of an icing. You could make like a cream cheese, a vegan cream cheese icing, but I don't have all the vegan, that extra stuff. So we're going to make a very simple one, which is 1 cup of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of a non-dairy milk, and about 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla. So let's just pour these together, and you're going to see how easy it is to make your own icing. And then we'll drizzle them on top of, our cinnamon buns. Let's give that a mix. And you're going to see how fast this turns into icing. Yeah. Look at that. Icing done. That is quick icing. All right, I'm gonna go in the back and I'm gonna grab the cinnamon buns. Now, remember I said I left them in the oven and they rose a lot. I have never seen my cinnamon buns get this big, but I'm just gonna assume that's just more deliciousness and fluffiness that we're gonna eat. So, don't be alarmed when you see how big they are. Hang on. Look at that. Do you see that? They are huge. They continued to rise in the oven, as I mentioned. Some of the tips got more brown than the other ones, but that's okay. That's all right. And while it's still hot, we're going to drizzle our icing over the top. Oh yeah. Can't get much better than that. Can you taste it? Where's my coffee? Some tea, something. I don't think you can hear it, but you can hear the sizzling of the icing hitting the edges of the pan. And it just tastes, it sounds beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I wish you could hear that. All right. Well, this was 1 hour cinnamon buns that look absolutely stunning. You can surprise your guests or just make your own tray and have a good day, right? This is what happens when you take some yeast, water, sugar, salt, and flour, basically, and you're good to go. All right, 1 hour cinnamon buns, absolutely delicious. I hope you love this video. If so, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click the bell so that you get notifications of when the next one is available. As always, stay blessed. Thanks for being with us, and it is always time to cook. See you in the next video. Bye.